back the share screening?
You can share again.
Ah, I gotta do it again. Okay, right. Let me go with that one. Let us check, Miriam, with you. Can you see my main screen?
Yep, all good.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending where in the world you may be. And I will just take you through a mentoring journey that we had at Newbury Club, lessons learned, and things like that. First of all, and I know Di is in the crowd this morning, and just to let you know that the whole thing started where a balmy July evening in 2018, and this lovely lady Di kind of schmoozed up to me, rubbed shoulders, and did her Rob, that kind of where you get your first name extended quite a lot. And I knew there was a big request coming. At that time, Di was the president of our club, and she was determined that we would crack the mentoring regime and try and get it introduced to the club. And I'll talk you a little bit of history as to why it hadn't happened up until 2018. So what I'll do is I'll talk through the history, what led us to that balmy evening in 2018, talk you through how we planned and we introduced mentoring to Newbury Club, and then lots of things that we learnt along that particular journey over the 2 years and where we currently are as well. So let's just talk about the history first then. So over a kind of 15-year period, Newbury Club tried to get mentoring going. And I would say it's a bit like trying to find the COVID vaccine in terms of a result. Lots of test runs, lots of really good determined people trying to do it. But unfortunately, over that 15-year period, we just couldn't get the remedy. So what did we do then? So what did Di do, should I say? So having borne in mind that in July 2018, I was asked to do this, in August, and I kid you not, this is just some of them, Di then gave me this great big white polythene bag and said, here's all the stuff, Rob, on mentoring. See what you can do with it, and let's see if we can get it up and running. As it was, sadly, a lot of the stuff was out of date, and my background is a leadership and training, leadership and management trainer. I'm a coach, I'm a mentor, and I do emotional intelligence. I thought what I really need to do here is actually, I need to kind of start with the end in mind. And to do that, what I did was speak to everybody on the committee, new members, as many members as I could, to find out what is it that we really want to get from mentoring. Why do we want to introduce it in the first place? And the bottom line was, we had to introduce it because what we wanted to do was give everybody a better experience at the club, and then that would lead to better retention. So the end game was better experience, better retention, and actually a much more enjoyable occasion for everybody at the club to start with. So the plan was interesting. We had to identify some criteria, first of all, for who we would select to be our mentors. And if I can just go around this little who, what, why, when, where, and just talk you through that. So the who was, who would be our mentors? We had to set some criteria. So we set 6 speeches minimum from what was then the Competent Communicator Manual, or at least level 3 on the pathway. But at that time, we were new to the pathway. Somebody who's probably carried out every role at the club in terms of an evening role, if I can call it that. But not necessarily a prerequisite, but if served on the committee, that would be even better, but it wasn't a prerequisite. So we had the criteria set. Then what we looked at from there was, how can they help? How can they help and need to tell us when they were going to apply? So how can they help towards mentoring? What can they bring to the party? So the what was the experience of mentoring or coaching that they had already. So there may have been previous coaches in our audience. And what experience do they have in Toastmasters that they can bring to the whole thing as well? The when was, are they able to commit at least a couple of hours a month towards the mentoring, so the timeline side of it? So when could they commit and would they commit? And the where, bear in mind I'm going back a couple of years now, pre-COVID, we met every other Saturday down at our museum in Newbury, and we'd have a coffee kind of club going on there as well. Some of us would do our mentoring there. Others would do it in other locations, including their own houses. But the key point here is the location for the mentoring had to be a joint agreement between the mentor and the mentee. The why, that's an interesting question. Why would we do it? And for the VPE, it's good to know why somebody is volunteering to be a mentor and what they also want to get out of that relationship with their mentees. I'll talk a little bit more about the why as I go through this particular presentation. So from there then, so what we got then is this kind of plan B, as I called it. We had to train the mentors. Bearing in mind my background was in training and leadership and management anyway, what I decided to do was put a 3-hour training package together and get some kind of role play in there as well for our budding mentors, and then cover 3 or 4 particular areas that we knew were essential to get this relationship going. So first of all, introducing everybody to what a mentoring contract looked like, the confidentiality around it, what we were committing to, what the mentees were committing to. And we also introduced the GROW model. And for those that are in the audience that already may be coaches or mentors, the GROW model is the most commonly used coaching model that's out there. So we use that model. It's nice and simplistic. We also then had to agree frequency of mentoring sessions. How often would we do this? Once a month, once every couple of months, and then make sure that it wasn't just about speech delivery. So the mentoring process took the whole gambit of what we do at speakers, all the different roles. So making sure that there wasn't just this focus on pure speech delivery. And then from there, we had to kind of monitor the progress then over this kind of 2-year period. We lost a couple of mentors during that time, just as all clubs do. We kind of lose people and we gain people. And so we made sure that when we did lose anybody, we got some replacements in. And then what we did notice was a real, I would say, a step change in improvement with our icebreaker speeches to start with. That was the first real kind of big change, I think, for us. And then what we also noticed was the pathway speeches, the pathway 1 and the pathway level 2. There was a huge increase in confidence, in delivery, the whole thing around those 2 speeches in particular, 2 levels of speeches. We noticed that that was really good. And we got some great feedback from our mentees during this period as well. And what I would add, just before I go on to this particular slide, what I would say is that people like Shingai, who I know is in the audience, and Niru and Miriam herself when she was VPE, they put out some great questionnaires to our mentees and to our mentors. So we were always gathering some really good information around the progress that we were making. So what I would say is we learned some lessons along the journey. And the first lesson was that we needed to listen to feedback from our mentees, and that once we got that feedback, we adapted our approach. The VPE pushed out these questionnaires that I mentioned, and we learned that we also needed to focus on evaluations. Great to focus on speeches, but the one area we learned over the period of time was giving people confidence to do evaluations, especially evaluations on our more progressed speakers. There was a bit of kind of some people frightened to do those evaluations because they thought they couldn't do it, but actually everybody can do it, as we know. We then had our second lesson was follow up. And what do I mean by follow up? As mentors, we had a duty to follow up on the actions that were outstanding, and also follow up if our mentees started to kind of drift off the radar, making sure they were okay, making sure that everything was going well for them, especially so when COVID kicked in 9 months ago, and making sure we kept everybody on board and kept everybody engaged as to what we were doing along those along these lines here. Lesson number 3. We recognize that mentoring is a relationship. It's not forever, unlike marriage, which should be forever. And it's a cozy relationship as well. But what we also identified was after 2 years, we should, as mentors, be asking our mentees, who else might they want to take on board as a mentor? You've probably kind of got everything you need from us for 2 years, and learn some different skills and some different knowledge from a different mentor. So don't be stuck in that relationship, we suggest, for any more than 2 years. So make sure we give some new variety and some new learning, both for the mentor and for the mentee. So our next steps. So we've done this for 2 years now, and I would say, and I'm not just saying because I kind of led on it at the time, but I would say that we've made some huge progress, and we're never at the top of the steps yet. So what have we learned? We've learned we need to rotate the mentoring lead. So I now don't do the mentoring. We've handed that on to another one of our members. He's got previous experience of being a coach as well. We need to link in with the club president. We need to link in with the VPE to ensure that we're assisting with the club's goals for the year. We also need to broaden our mentoring offer to ensure that our new and established members can get as much from the club as they can. And also, what we need to do here is share our learning as widely as we can. And I'm really grateful that Miriam's managed to get me on to do this today. I've also shared our learning with the Verizon Club at Reading and spoken to their VPE and shared what we've learned so far. And also what we could do is look to see how we could integrate this learning journey for new members with that pathway that we all know about now, and make sure we can take that forward. What I would stipulate here is it's not just for new members. Everybody in the club has access to this. So we've all got a mentor, either formal or informal. So I would add that in here as well. And this is something that we put together. And what I would say, I'm not asking you to read this line by line or join the dots or the colors or anything like that. What we did was, along with the VPE, we kind of had a look at the pathway for a new member. And we actually looked at a 2-year kind of journey and had a look to see what kind of things should each mentee be doing and when might they be doing this as well. So we put this kind of color-coded pathway together. As I say, what I would add here is it's absolutely not set in stone, and what it is aspirational and a timeline for a new member to follow over that first 2 years. Now, if I can give you just one example, second line from the bottom on the bottom table in brown is general evaluator. So we don't see the general evaluator role being undertaken until around 18 months in. But we might have somebody who's really, really good, lots and lots of previous speaking experience, and they may wish to take it on in that first 12 months, and that is fine. So what we've got is some aspirational timelines in this particular program so that others can have a look and see where they are on the journey. More than happy to share this slide and talk this through with anybody over the next few weeks if required as well. And I'm not going to ask everybody to read all of these. So what we did was we gave all 9 mentors information, and we put it on a ribbon slideshow so that new people to the club could select who they wanted to be their mentor. What I would ask, I'm just going to cover the very last sentence here, sorry, of each mentor's paragraph and pitch that they put out. So Di said, "I'm happy to help and willing to take the challenge of most characters." Lovely phrase. And then Phil said, "As a mentor, I'm happy to support with as little or as much as required, and I'm always willing to pass on my ideas and experience from my time at Newbury Speakers Club." And Kate said, where to start? I have said I have a laid-back style. I welcome a self-starter who can come to me with questions, always easier than a blank piece of paper, and I'm happy. Sorry, I'm clicking too quickly here. Just Rob Donnelly, some of you may know these people as well. The journey of life is all about learning, and I believe in learning, having fun, doing it, and being the best that you can be. We might recognize that phrase from somewhere. And last but not least, and you all know Miriam, and Miriam's last sentence here was, "My greatest satisfaction would be to see my mentees succeed and be the best that they can." So some great phrases from our mentees that were on our ribbon went around. We had another 4 or 5, and it was really about picking up what our mentees were saying for our potential, our mentors were saying for our potential mentees. So just in some concluding remarks here, if I may, it's been a fantastic journey, and we've now got mentoring embedded into the DNA of Newbury Speakers Club. It didn't happen overnight. It was achieved through the hard work and dedication of the mentors in particular. I would also add, with the push and the encouragement of the presidents over those 2 years, Di, Miriam, and Shane Guy now, and also the VPEs. We've noticed a huge impact on the level of good quality level 1 and level 2 pathway speeches in particular. We've also noticed an increase in confidence in those that are being mentored. The mentoring process, as I've mentioned before, is open to anybody in the club. I've only focused probably in this one on the newer people coming to the club, but many of us have been there for a few years now, and we all have a mentor or an informal mentor that we can use on an as required basis. The mentoring process adds value into what I would consider to be an already great club to go to. And it's all very well listening to me saying that. Let's just have a few quotes from those that have been doing it. So one person said, mentoring gives you a flying start. Another person said, it's the difference that made the difference. Another person said, you might recognize these glasses, by the way, bottom left. Seeing my mentees grow is one of the most satisfying feelings I've ever had. And last but not least, this was a mentee here on the bottom right. I have developed more self-confidence and continue to grow personally and professionally. So they're quotes from either our mentors or our mentees. And that just takes me to my last slide. I'm asking if there are any questions. I do see this chat going on. I'm not sure if that's chat questions to me. I will have a quick look, and then I'm more than happy to take any questions as well. So I'm more than happy to take any questions. I don't see any direct questions to me here. And hopefully what I've been able to kind of put across is the great journey that we've had, and the fact that we are happy. I say we collectively, we're happy to help any other club that wants to take this on as a new journey for yourselves, if you're not doing it already.
Rob, can I ask a question,
Rob.
please?
Yeah, sure.
It's Gavin Meikle here from Spinnaker and Solent Speakers. We've, like you, we went through a period of struggling with the mentoring and trying different things, and what lacked was a consistency. So I find your presentation really inspiring. My question is really about who drives the mentoring program, because traditionally it's fallen on the shoulders of the VPE. And the VPE, I certainly find a very full-on role, particularly with pathways now and things like that. And I wonder how you handled that split between VPE and whoever was driving the program.
Good question, Gavin. How we did it was the VPE didn't have this role, and I was given the role. I was asked to undertake the role, and I reported into the VPE. It was almost like a sub role with the VPE, but we did work hand in glove together. I've done it for 2 years. And again, rather than me keep on doing it, Gavin, we've given it to somebody else to take the lead now, again, reporting into the new VPE as she is now. Good question. Thank you. I think there was a second question from somebody.
Yeah, hi, it's Ian, also from Spinnaker Speakers on the VPN. I really enjoyed your speech just then, and it gave some great, very succinctly put quite a ambiguous area, I think. My question is, you mentioned about the general evaluator role for your club, not specifically being in the first year. Well, what are your thoughts on actually people doing that within the first year, purely as a way of gaining experience in looking at a meeting overall, obviously, as they progress through the evaluation roles? Because I found it very useful to do that as well. I just want to know what your thoughts were on that in terms of gaining experience.
Yeah, absolutely, no problem. As I said, I think the clue for that particular slide was it's aspirational only. Absolutely no problem with somebody doing general evaluator in the first 6 months if they feel. And I think the thing for me is it's all about confidence. Is the person who's volunteering to do that role, no matter which role it is in the club, are they confident that they've got the knowledge, the understanding, and the skill sets to actually do it? And this is where the mentor comes in. So the mentor can pass on his or her knowledge, understanding, and skills for that particular role. So if the mentor and the mentee have got that, you can do it in 6 months, fine. But for me, it's about having confidence. And this is where the things that I see personally is a lot of newish people, and actually some people have been there for a few years as well, don't necessarily have that confidence. So the link is to the mentor to help you to get that confidence.
Brilliant, thank you. Yes.
May I
Oh, hello.
question? Hello.
Hi, Levent.
Hi, how are you? Thank you very much for your presentation. It was very nice. Also, hello everyone from Turkey. I would like to ask one question, that what is the difference between the leadership and the mentoring?
Okay, really good question. It's interesting. I think mentoring is part of leadership. I think mentoring is part of a leadership output, part of a leadership skill set as well. I thought you were going to ask me the difference between mentoring and coaching, which is a common question. But I do see mentoring as part of a leadership skill set. I mentioned before, I teach leadership and management anyway. I see leadership is all to do with people. And mentoring is a people output in my view. So I think the two things go together, and mentoring is one of the many skill sets that a good leader has.
Thank you very much.
Hi, hi, Rob.
Hi, Philip.
Can I just, yeah, hi. I guess very interested in your speech because I'm on the point of I am a mentor of somebody, and we haven't been in contact yet. And I thought your idea that we should have a date for getting in contact every month was excellent. My question, though, is if everybody in the club is doing this, and some people will have different ideas about what it means to be a mentor. Some people will see it as just passing information to the other person because they have more knowledge. And like you suggested for the general evaluation, and other people will see it as a way of allowing the person that they're mentoring to explore what their goals are at Toastmasters. And other people will see it where you suggested was a bad idea as a way of helping people with a particular speech. And I know that often mentors and mentees don't get on, maybe because they have different expectations about what the relationship should be. So I'm wondering what you think about that. How would you get everybody to do a good job as a mentor?
Quite a few things in there, Philip. I would say that first of all, there's a contract. And I'm more than happy to share the copy of the contract that we use. There's a contract about what mentoring is. There's a contract that also says what it isn't. And it's not coaching. So it's definitely mentoring. And the mentoring piece is around all the different things that we do at Speakers about passing on that knowledge, those understanding, and those skill sets as well. And the mentee selects the mentor. So the mentor doesn't select the mentee. So that way the relationship, hopefully, should be a relationship made in heaven. There's also within that contract, with 1 month's notice, that you can break that relationship as well. So a lot comes back to the contract about what we're signing up for. And for different reasons, as you've mentioned, Philip, the mentor and mentee might not get on. It just might be that people don't necessarily get on. And that's fine. You break that mentor-mentee relationship and you get the mentee with somebody that they know that will be able to work with them. Does that answer your question, Philip? There's quite a lot in there.
Yes, that's great. It's just that, I think it's something you do professionally, and other people will be maybe have strong ideas about what they're going to do, and it might not work as well for some people as it did with you, because you have that knowledge.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. And then we train that as well. So our mentors, don't forget, I've mentioned we had a mentor training day, and we continue that as well. So we don't just leave that day and set it aside. Every 3 months, we will engage with our mentors and make sure that training is continuous as well.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Miriam, I'm really conscious of time. I might be over time now, which I apologize for, but there's lots of really good questions there. And I'm more than happy to take any questions in the margins of this, and maybe via Miriam. I think Miriam's still there now. She seems to disappear.
There's one more question, I think, from Daniel, who's raised his hand.
Okay,
so
fine.
Daniel, you don't have your camera on. Do you have a question, Daniel?
Yeah, it's not so much a question. So apologies if I missed it earlier. I may have missed it, but there's one thing that often doesn't get raised around mentoring, and that's the fact that Toastmasters does have a mentoring path, like a sort of mini path, that a lot of people don't realize that after level 2, there's something that shows up in, I can't remember what the part is. It's in like the bottom right hand corner of pathways, and it's something like things you might be interested in or something like that. And that takes you through sort of the basics of mentoring, gives you a 6-month, I think it's, no, taking someone through sort of their first speech, so sort of training you up to be a mentor, and then there's a 6-month mentoring one there, and there's a path that has learning within it. So there are some resources that Toastmasters have I just wanted to highlight that because that's not always highlighted, because not a lot of people realize it exists.
That's a good point, Daniel. I must admit, there's some. I would say now, I think there's some really good stuff, really good material online within the Toastmasters pathway materials to help people with mentoring. I certainly covered it. I've just finished the dynamic leadership pathway, and I used mentoring within that program. So it's definitely lots of good stuff in there. So I don't want anybody to think that I don't appreciate what's already there within Toastmasters, but having the material is one thing. The crux is being able to have the capability to use that material and actually generate a really good mentoring system within your club. And that's the hard bit. It's getting somebody to take that lead for you, because you can't do it all on your own. The VPE job on its own is a really difficult job without mentoring. So it's just getting a volunteer to take the baton and actually run with it and make sure that he or she's got support, I would say. And I've certainly got some brilliant support from my presidents, from the VPEs over the 3 years as it's been, actually 3 VPEs, 3 presidents. If you've got that support, it will work, but you cannot do it on your own. I think that's why previous years, before my time at Newbury, it's probably why it fell away, because you didn't have that collective support. And the end game, as I mentioned before, that whole end game about giving people a broader and wider experience at your club, and then having that retention piece as well. If you've got much better experience, you love going to your club because you've got your mentor and your mentoring system there, then you will generate that retention that we're all looking for, especially now that since we've gone online. I just realized I think I'm actually spot on time, by the way.
Spot on time. If that's the last question, then we can finish there.
Okay, thanks very much, everybody, and good luck with the rest of the day.